Sarah has been my other half for 29 years. I'm grateful every day that my parents gave me her. Life is just clearer and brighter with her in it. I've never been able to say anything more confidently, but Bobby, you scored the jackpot. I thought it was only fair that as we near 30 years together, that I share some tips and tricks that I've learned to keep Sarah happy. Number 1, feed Sarah consistently. It is no accident that this is the first thing on the list. Don't buy into the rom-com Sarah will watch when she makes you buy cable. The key to a lasting relationship with Sarah is not flowers, not expensive gifts, but being well fed. If you don't believe me, spend Ash Wednesday with Sarah. I recommend carrying lots of snacks in your pockets. Number 2, meat. Speaking of feeding her, might as well just make it meat. As far as she is concerned, if the meal is not 90% meat, you're doing it wrong. When picking the menu for tonight's dinner, she entertained whether she should have vegetarian options or not, and was overheard saying, "If you don't like meat, I don't know that you should be invited to my wedding." Number 3, don't expect your furniture to stay put for very long. While living with Sarah in college, it was never uncommon for me to come back from class and find Sarah in the middle of the room with all the furniture surrounding her, red and sweaty, ready to move everything again. She would look up at me and say, I know, but I think I've got it this time. Let it happen.
My name's Ben Clark. I'm the best man. I've known Bobby for about 10 years now. We met in high school at Jesuit. We got into a lot of hijinks together, it's fair to say. If we were a professional wrestling tag team, it's fair to say that Bobby's the steak and I'm the sizzle. He's responsible, and I was always a little more rogue. We've got a lot of goofy stories, but the one that I always like to tell, and the one that always probably gets people giggling the most, is when we went to Oklahoma. And we didn't have any transportation, being that we were 22 and weren't able to rent a car. And since it was with 2 top 5 teams, lodging was looking a little scarce. So we didn't really know what we were going to do, but we had tickets to games on Saturday and Sunday. So Bobby calls me up and he says, Ben, I think I got a solution. What's the only mode of transportation you can pick up in one city and leave in another? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. A U-Haul. And he comes at me with, no, it's going to be okay because it's going to solve our lodging crisis as well. So.
Number 4, Sarah is not a morning person. In fact, I don't know that any of the Maciels are. I don't think we're born with that gene. The best way to get through it is to not make eye contact with her in the morning and wait for her to talk to you first. You'll thank me later.
At the time, I'm standing outside in Las Vegas, where I live, and it's pretty warm. It's whatever, October, but it was warm. And Bobby tells me, make sure you bring a sleeping bag and some sweats. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I got it. So I come out with just basically a t-shirt and basketball shorts. And little did I know, October in Norman, Oklahoma, it was like 25 degrees out. It was freezing. So there we are in the back of a U-Haul, and I'm just chattering up a storm because I'm freezing, and Bobby's come prepared, because he's the responsible one, with a sleeping bag. So he's asleep. I crawl out of the U-Haul, get in the driver's seat, go on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride to the only thing that was open at that time in the morning, to a CVS. We go inside. We ask the person if they have any sleeping bags or anything like that. Nope, but they got a couple of dog beds. So I pick up a couple of dog beds and just shiver the night away. But anyway, the whole weekend was a mess, but it was a great time. What I like to take from that story is that just Bobby's responsible. He's somebody that I look up to. He's an yeah, sort of, but Hakuna Matata.
And number 5, family. Sarah loves her family with every piece of herself. You have chosen someone that will love you and your children with everything she has. None of you will ever be without love. As we join families, know that you will have the love and support of every one of us. Bobby, while your last name will remain Philbrook, you are now officially a Maciel.
Bobby is outgoing, social, affable, and inviting. I've watched him in many different environments over the past 8 years, and others are drawn to him. Bobby engages others easily, truly caring about the other person's experience and wanting to understand who they are. Bobby loves wholeheartedly. During his junior year, he led a group of students every Friday to the Tenderloin District in San Francisco to deliver meals to senior citizens and the critically ill. Not many college students would choose this obligation every Friday evening while their friends were kicking back. Bobby embraced this opportunity, not treating others as though he was doing his duty by serving those less fortunate, but rather fostering human connections with others and acting on his love for people. And in the times that have been difficult and without celebration, Bobby has been comforting, supportive, and loving. Bobby has become so much a part of me and my life, and with each moment that passes, I find myself loving him deeper. He has given me the strength to have faith in life and love, and to be vulnerable and to be comfortable, even with uncertainty. Bobby is selfless. He cares about my happiness and who I am, how to achieve it, and what he can do to be part of it. He makes me want to be a better partner to him, more attentive, more loving, more forgiving, more accepting. With Bobby, I know that anything is possible. With him as a partner, we'll get through it together.
Sarah and Samantha were a little shy when they first started school, and by a little, I mean a lot. If they didn't have each other to lean on for support, it probably wasn't going to happen. Last night, Sarah told me how important it was to have Ann and Terry so close by. Ann would wait for them and watch them cross the street to her house every day after school. And that was a huge comfort to us, so thank you. To Sarah's siblings, the rabble-rousers, thank you for being so good to each other. I missed out on some of that as a kid, and that's why it's so important to me to see that in all of you. To my wife, Dawn was born to be a mother. This woman will do anything for her children. If it was up to her, our children would live at home forever. And I do mean forever. All a father really wants for his daughter is for her to be loved and protected. And it's nice to see my daughter so happy. I'm always impressed by the way Sarah and Bobby are so comfortable with each other and comfortable with us. And there have been those times when Bobby was a little too comfortable in the house. But he does eat a lot of chili peppers and hot sauce, so it's not really his fault. So I promised myself I'd keep this short, so I won't tell you the story about the Hellfire 911 challenge or the time I pepper sprayed Bobby in the face. True story, right? Well, I had to spray him 4 or 5 times before he actually felt anything. And that's because he eats so much chili, habanero peppers and everything. He built up a tolerance to it, I think.
Bobby shared these thoughts about Sarah. After spending only a little time together, I soon realized how funny she was. One time when we were working as orientation leaders, it was like 100 degrees outside, and we were standing in the sun. We were both complaining about how hot we were, but she had this comically large backpack on that was clearly a big part of the problem. When I suggested she take it off, she gritted her teeth, slightly smiled, and pulled the straps even tighter. Can I just say, having played bocce ball with the Maciel family, I know that kind of determination is genetic. She was tiny, sweaty, but trying to show me that she's a tough guy. When I started laughing, she started laughing. She knew she was being cute. I loved it. It is an inspiration to me. I have a small family, and I've only really had to look after myself most of my life. She, on the other hand, doesn't have a selfish bone in her body. Over the last 8 years, I've grown into a better person because of the example Sarah sets. She supported me in law school by coming up to San Francisco every weekend. She never demanded anything. And oftentimes, would just be there in my apartment watching TV while I did my reading. She knew that I needed her during a stressful, competitive 3 years. When my dad died, Sarah immediately bought a plane ticket to come up to Portland to be with me and my mom. Being in the presence of her love that weekend really helped my family. Going forward, I hope to be as generous to her as she has been to me.
Bobby, I just want you to know that we love you, and we are so happy to welcome you into our family. I see how much you love Sarah. And I know you'll be a good husband and a good father someday. So in closing, Sarah and Bobby, it's not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that causes problems in marriage. So remain best friends, make each other laugh every day. And this part is for my wife. Have lots of babies. Cheers.